A tourist in a banana costume thought his antics could break the Queen's Guard's stoic resolve. Tossing a banana at his feet, he was sure he'd win. But with one unexpected move, the Guardsman left the crowd stunned, turning comedy into an unforgettable lesson. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We share the untold stories, secrets, and traditions of the British Guards every day. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The morning bustle in front of Buckingham Palace was as predictable as it was chaotic. Tourists gathered in droves, eager to capture the quintessential photo of a guardsman in his iconic red uniform and towering bearskin hat. Cameras clicked incessantly. Murmurs of admiration rippled through the crowd, and children tugged at their parents' sleeves, pointing at the motionless figure standing guard. For the guardsman, this was just another day. His exterior was the epitome of stoic professionalism, but inside, his thoughts rolled their eyes. Ah, another day of staring contests with the world's most clueless. Yesterday, someone asked if my hat was real. Yes, sir, it's real, unlike my tolerance for questions like that. The typical hum of tourist activity was soon interrupted by a burst of obnoxious, upbeat music. Heads turned as a man clad in a bright yellow banana costume sauntered into view, carrying a blaring boombox. The crowd parted, murmurs of confusion giving way to amused laughter. The banana man strutted confidently to the front, stopping just a few feet from the guardsman, who remained unmoved, his gaze fixed ahead. "All right, everyone," the man declared, his voice booming over the din. "Get ready for the banana dance challenge. Let's see if we can make this guy crack." The guardsman's inner voice groaned. "Fantastic. A professional attention seeker. This day just keeps getting better." The man hit play on his boombox and launched into a ridiculous routine. Arms flailed wildly, hips jerked with exaggerated enthusiasm, and his bright costume only amplified the absurdity. The crowd erupted in laughter, phones snapping and filming as the man spun, twirled, and flopped about like a fruit in distress. The guardsman didn't so much as blink. Internally, though, he mused, "Why is it always bananas? Why not a dignified fruit, like an apple?" The man leaned closer, jazz hands wiggling inches from the guardsman's face. "Come on, mate. Just a little smile for the camera." Not happening, the guardsman thought. This face is locked tighter than the Tower of London vaults. Undeterred, the banana man escalated, dropping to the ground and rolling around theatrically, as if peeling himself. The crowd roared with approval, their laughter ringing through the square. But the guardsman remained a statue. Around him, chaos unfolded, yet his stillness spoke louder than any reaction. The unyielding resolve of tradition faced off against the unrestrained absurdity of modern entertainment, and so far, tradition was winning. The man's antics grew increasingly desperate, the crowd's cheers egging him on. Yet, no matter how ridiculous he became, the guardsman didn't flinch. And as the banana man prepared for his next move, a subtle shift in the guardsman's demeanor hinted that this battle of wits was far from over. The crowd's cheers grew louder, feeding the man's ego like gasoline on a fire. He climbed onto a nearby bench, hoisting his boombox above his head in a pose that screamed wannabe movie star. The speakers blared a comically exaggerated circus tune, setting the perfect backdrop for his next stunt. With a dramatic flourish, he pulled out a trio of bananas from some hidden pocket in his costume. "Who wants to see me juggle while moonwalking?" he shouted, waving the bananas triumphantly. The crowd roared in approval, their phones now trained on him rather than the palace behind them. A ripple of anticipation ran through the gathering, but the guardsman remained as unyielding as ever, his gaze fixed forward. Internally, though, his thoughts crackled with sarcasm. "Not me, but please continue." At this point, it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. The Banana Man's juggling act was mediocre at best. His moonwalk barely passable as he nearly tripped over his own feet. Yet the crowd applauded, as if he'd just performed a Cirque du Soleil routine. Among them, a group of American tourists in matching flag-themed t-shirts decided to join the madness. "Let's make it a group challenge," one of them yelled, pulling out a ukulele and strumming it so horribly out of tune that even the pigeons scattered. The Guardsman's internal monologue sighed. "Wonderful. A musical accompaniment to my daily nightmare. Just what I needed." But the Banana Man wasn't done yet. He suddenly launched one of his bananas at the Guardsman's feet, his grin widening as he turned to the crowd. "Let's see if he can resist that." The crowd gasped, some laughing, others murmuring nervously. The banana rolled to a stop mere inches from the Guardsman's polished black boots. For the first time, a subtle tension rippled through the air. The Guardsman's jaw tightened ever so slightly, a reaction so minimal it could have been missed by most, but not by the Banana Man, whose confidence flickered for just a moment. "Oh, you're playing a dangerous game now, my fruity friend," the Guardsman thought. But outwardly, he remained as still as stone. The crowd leaned in, their cameras zooming closer, sensing the possibility of something extraordinary about to unfold. And though the Guardsman stood unmoving, the growing tension was impossible to ignore. The line between tradition and absurdity had been crossed, and the stage was set for consequences neither the Banana Man nor the crowd could predict. As the Banana Man geared up to hurl another fruit, his arm cocked back with dramatic flair, the unthinkable happened. The Guardsman moved. A single step forward, deliberate and composed. The reaction from the crowd was immediate and electric. Gasps rippled through the square, accompanied by a chorus of camera clicks. For a figure that was supposed to be as immovable as a statue, this was tantamount to an earthquake. The man froze mid-throw, his exaggerated confidence visibly wavering. "Uh-oh," he muttered under his breath, glancing nervously at the towering figure before him. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. The Guardsman, poised and commanding, versus the Banana Man, now resembling a deer caught in headlights. With an air of almost theatrical calm, the Guardsman bent down and retrieved the banana from the ground. His gloved hand turned it over with a level of scrutiny one might reserve for inspecting a priceless artifact. The crowd, captivated by the sudden shift in dynamic, fell silent, hanging on his every move. It was a moment that perfectly encapsulated the absurdity of the situation, a man in a regal red uniform handling a banana like evidence in a courtroom, while his opponent stood frozen, unsure whether to laugh or run. Then, in one swift, controlled motion, the Guardsman extended his arm and handed the banana back to its owner. The gesture was so understated yet so definitive that the crowd erupted into applause and laughter. The action was nothing short of a deadpan mic drop, a masterclass in silent communication. You're embarrassing yourself, and now everyone knows it. The Banana Man hesitated before taking it, his bravado deflated. Thanks?" he stammered, his voice barely audible over the laughter. But the Guardsman wasn't finished. With impeccable timing, he raised his hand to adjust his towering bearskin hat. The subtle gesture sent another ripple of amazement through the audience. Was that the faintest hint of a smirk? The man's confidence evaporated entirely. Shoulders slumped, he muttered, "Well, I guess that's it for the banana dance challenge, folks." Backing away awkwardly, he disappeared into the crowd, his boombox silent. The Guardsman returned to his stance, the picture of unshakable discipline. And though his face betrayed nothing, you could almost hear his inner voice. Mission accomplished. As the man slinked back into the crowd, the Guardsman returned to his stoic stance, resuming his position like nothing had happened. The tourists buzzed with excitement, recounting the moment as if it were the highlight of their trip. One American tourist turned to his friend, whispering loudly, "Did you see that? He totally owned that guy with just one move." The guardsman's internal monologue chuckled. Yes, I did. Another win for the forces of order and tradition." The man in the banana costume, now thoroughly humiliated, disappeared into the crowd, his boombox silent. Meanwhile, the guardsman stood tall, unshaken, as cameras continued to click. And though his face remained expressionless, somewhere deep inside, he allowed himself a tiny moment of satisfaction. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and let us know in the comments which guard tradition you'd like us to cover next. See you in the next video.